welcome back to a new video. Today we're working on the ZJ once again, but we're gonna get four-wheel drive working. So we got a front drive shaft right here. We are gonna have to replace this U-joint here and this one on the bottom. I believe the one on the inside is going to be okay. So I picked up two U-joints that should be the correct size. I'm gonna go ahead and press those in. We're gonna get the four-wheel drive working. And then we're gonna test it. So we've got, a pond over here. We might send it through. You have to stay tuned for that. And we're gonna be, after that, hopefully clearancing this bumper. In the last ZJ video, you saw that we trimmed the fenders, brought them up nice and high like the WJ. And so now this bumper that I bought, we need to make it, match the fender line. So we gotta do that with the plasma cutter and then get everything cleaned up. We're gonna be doing paint, color match, which I already have. But let's go ahead and get this drive shaft on.
Okay, so for this section, when you first get started on taking out these U-joints, you want to go ahead and pull out these clips. Usually you can use needle nose. Here I'm using a screwdriver to kind of pry it free, get it spinning a little bit, and then you're able to grab it. We've got the press here, so you want to get a big enough socket to where it can catch the U-joint as it falls in. If you have it too small, it's going to break the cap, which isn't a big deal whenever you're taking it apart, but when you're putting it together, you don't want to do that. So you need a small socket up top to push through on the cap. That's small enough to go through the drive shaft, and then you need to catch a big enough socket to catch the U-joint as it goes through. So that's what we're doing right here, pressing through. Once you get the cap through, I could have just used that side and went ahead and used the pliers to pull the cap off. Because you'll have to do one side at a time. I hadn't done this in a while, so I kind of forgot. But so now it's pushed pretty much through. You want to go ahead and take the cap off of the bottom one. That'll twist off, and then you can do the same with the top. When you put it on, you want to make sure that you're really careful with the bearings, the needle bearings inside of the caps, and that you don't let them fall over. So here I try to push the U-joint up into the cap and hold it there as I'm kind of, getting the cap started. That way I don't have to worry about the bearings falling out or getting stuck at the bottom of the cap, and it's not going to press all the way on. So you just kind of be careful about that. It gets a little more complicated when you get through the first few caps and you can't move the U-joint as much. So here I'm just banging those on, getting it started. You can really do this whole thing, the whole U-joint removal and install with just a hammer and a socket. But if you have a press, it's always nice to just go ahead and use that. So we got that. I ended up switching out that inner ball joint on that double cardan from the other drive shaft that came with the ZJ. There was no bearing inside around the ball joint, so it was just flop around. And I ended up going back replacing the inner joint as well as that ball joint with that other one. And here I'm just pressing it down a little bit so that I can get those clips back on. So once you press it in, you can get the clip and get it fitted into the slot so it's hold. All right, so we got the four-wheel drive working on the ZJ finally. Got the drive shaft in there, all rebuilt with the three U-joints. I ended up having to buy another U-joint for that middle on the double cardan joint. And also the ball joint in there was messed up. It didn't have like the bearing around it. So it was just flopping around, and that was another big part. So luckily I had another drive shafts in the ZJ already when I got it, and it had a functional ball joint, whatever you want to call it, that goes in the middle. So I pulled that off and put it on the one that I'm using on the ZJ. So we did do that. Had to fix that because it was clunking whenever I tested it out. And then just like you saw, we just went out and tested it, did a little rock pile climb and some spinning tires, trying to see, filming what's actually working, because it does have the 247, I believe. So it's got 4 low, neutral, and then 4 high. And so in 4 low, you can tell that it's doing what it should be doing with the open diff in the front and the LSD in the back. When I pushed up on that metal, trying to pop the left tire up on that metal thing, you could see the right passenger tire spinning in 4 low. And then I went back up to it, and it wasn't doing it in 4 high. I think it was only spinning the rear left, which is kind of interesting with the limited slip, and it works when it's flat. So I don't know, maybe it just needs some friction modifier in the front and rear diffs, because I would think the way that those work is it pushes pressure once the rear is not getting it done. It like pushes pressure or whatever, pump or something. I don't know, whatever I read and seen on YouTube, and tries to give more power to the front. So you can see the 4 low is working good, and I believe the 4 high is also working like it should be. I think maybe just some friction modifier in the front and rear will be dialed. So next up, we've got painting for the front bumper. The I can't think of what that bumper was from, Goliath Off-Road. Got it all rusty now, so I gotta sand it down or whatever, and we'll be spraying that ourselves, this color matched. And then also the grill, the 5.9 grill that I have, we're gonna be spraying that too, cleaning it up a little bit. I have steering on the way from Cab Fab. I ordered it a couple weeks ago, and of course after I ordered it, it was like, oh sorry, we're experiencing delays, so an extra like 3 weeks. So by now we should be about there. It should be showing up this week. And then I want to pick up a stock sway bar for the rear just to give a little bit more stability. But that's about it, and make sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.